Welcome to the ArmaniTalks show, episode 32. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. This is the show that you will learn public speaking, social skills, emotional intelligence, all skills that will help you out tremendously in the world of AI. A lot of jobs are currently getting automated, but you know what can't get automated? Communication skills, the ability to empathize with others, and the ability to put your palm on someone's shoulder, look them right in the eye, and tell them how you feel. These are skill sets that will remain evergreen for life. So, to learn more about communication skills, be sure to hit subscribe, hit that bell notification, and never miss another episode again. I drop a new Armani Talk show the first weekend of every month, and this month is September. I just came back from Canada, and that trip was so unique. I would actually say I came back from Manada because it was a trip to Michigan and Canada. And I want to explain this trip because it's pretty fresh in my mind. First off, Michigan. This was my first time ever going to Michigan, and I quite frankly didn't know what to expect. All I knew on what to expect was what I saw on TV shows. I mean, I've heard of Detroit before, but the only time I heard of Detroit was in 8 Mile. Isn't that where Eminem grew up? And in that movie, they didn't portray Detroit in the best light. So that's what I thought I was going to be going into. By the time I land in Michigan and I'm picking up my car, I'm exploring the area, I'm shocked. Michigan is amazing. It's clean. The people are friendly. The weather is amazing. The whole time I was there, I was just in awe because I thought it was such a lovely place. And at that moment, I realized that a lot of times when we are not actually visiting somewhere, we are relying on the media a little too much. And that is not good. That is why you should always have an incentive to travel, because the more that you travel, the more that you see for yourself. Is this place good? Is this place bad? Will I discover something new about it? Where with Michigan, I discovered a lot of new things about it. I loved my time in Michigan. Now, after the Michigan trip was wrapping up, I got my rental car and I drove to Canada. I didn't fly, I drove. And I kid you not, when we were about to cross the border, I had no clue what to expect. I've heard rumblings every now and then that the border patrol agents are somewhat rude, but I wasn't too sure. Well, I'm pulling up and I see a head pop out from where the border patrol is sitting, and I could tell he looked at me kind of pissed off. I noticed that. Then the car in front of me, they were let into Canada, and it was my time to pull forward. And as soon as I pull forward, this border patrol agent, his name is Sai. He's this Indian guy. He is furious at me. He's like, "Hey man, don't you see the stop lines over there? How come you didn't stop?" I'm automatically caught off guard because I didn't see any stop lines. I asked him, "Where is it?" And he said, "It's over there, man. You need to watch where you're going." And I'm trying to de-escalate the situation. So I said, "My bad, bro. It's my first time in Canada. I'm thinking that we can actually shift the conversation to it being my first time in Canada." But what he says is, "What? They don't have stop signs where you're from?" And I could tell he's starting off pretty hostile. So I said, "Let me fall back right now." I apologized to him. He asked me a bunch of questions and I gave him the responses. He gave me my passports back, and then we were off to Canada. See, there's a micro lesson in here. The micro lesson was I could have easily shown him attitude back. I mean, I'm not quite sure the type of power that the Border Patrol agents have, especially if I'm not carrying anything illegal. I mean, can they just take me out of my car and waste my time? I have no clue. This is a situation where I am fully ignorant, and if I did want to be rude, I could have been rude. But what was the purpose of being rude? I mean, it's just going to waste my time. So this was the situation where I just apologized and I kept it moving so I could finally enter Canada. And by the time that I entered Canada, initially I didn't notice a big difference between Canada and the US. I thought this looks pretty much the same. And then I had this insight. Wait, Armani, you have to change your speedometer from miles per hour to kilometers per hour. whatever. I changed that and I was driving. Up until that point, the biggest difference I saw was the change in my speedometer and a whole bunch of greenery. Canada has so much greenery when you are first entering it. Eventually, we go to this place called Niagara Falls City. It's the city right next to Niagara Falls. And as you're pulling into Niagara Falls, you can see it as you are driving, and it just makes you feel a certain type of way. But wait, there's going to be more because we're not just going to be seeing it from our car. We're doing this thing called Journey Behind the Falls, where we're going to be right next to the Niagara Falls. Parking took forever, but when we found our parking, it was at an amazing spot. We parked, we walked into the area, the Journey Behind the Falls area, and there we were, right next to the Niagara Falls. There's a couple of moments in life when you feel a strong way. Like if you are a guy that's coming from a different country to the United States and you see the Statue of Liberty for the first time and it inspires you to move to the United States, then you're feeling a lot of strong sensations. Those sensations were the same ones that I was feeling when I saw the Niagara Falls, especially up so close. It's gargantuan. And it made me think, how do these waterfalls exactly work? I mean, where is all the water coming from? And I wanted to come back later on and study more on it. And I was just there. I was just mesmerized. We saw the sunset there, and eventually the Niagara Falls it lights up, so it looks even cooler at night. There's so many great features, and the first night in Canada was successful. The second day in Canada was when we did the Toronto Day Pass, and we did a bunch of things from Royal Ontario Museum, Casa Loma, Ripley's Aquarium, the City Cruise, and going all the way up in the CN Tower. That was another time when I just felt that awe. When I was at the top of the CN Tower and I was looking down at Toronto. At that moment, I realized that Canada, it is epic. There were so many moments with my time in Canada where I just thought, this is so grand. This is so epic. For a long time, when someone would ask me, hey, Armani, if you didn't live in the US, where would you prefer to live? My answer was always Dubai. But after the Canada trip recently, my perspective has flipped. Nowadays, I think I would rather live in Canada rather than Dubai because Canada is very similar to the US with its own unique twist. And after I came back from Canada, I thought, wow, us Americans, we know nothing about Canada. A lot of Canadians know about Americans, though. Every now and then, when we were talking to the different people in Canada, they would ask us where we're from. We'd say which state, and they would understand. When I said I was from Tampa, they knew that it was in Florida. So they had somewhat of an understanding of how the United States worked. And from my understanding, a lot of people in Canada, they're pretty aware of American politics, American culture, American music, etc. But the opposite is not true. Americans are not necessarily aware of Canada at all. They only know a couple of buzzwords. They know maple syrup, they know Justin Trudeau, they know the Canadian flag, and they know poutine, which, by the way, I tried some poutine, amazing. But other than that, they don't know much about Canada, and I would urge Americans to try out and visit Canada. They actually know more about Mexico than Canada. They know more about the South than the North, but overall, my time in Canada was amazing. Now, after Canada was wrapping up, I had to drive back to Michigan. And this time I was on my best behavior with the Border Patrol agent. But still, this guy was rude. This guy was making a lot of snarky comments. But this guy was less intimidating than the first guy. We got back to Michigan. And this time we decided to explore Detroit a little bit more. Not just the overall side of Michigan, but more around the city area. And that's when I noticed something. A lot of how Detroit is portrayed on the media, where it's a little dirty, a little gritty, I was actually seeing it firsthand. And it made me realize something. When you are traveling to somewhere new, don't just visit the city. Because if you just visit the city, you may get a false perception of what the entire state is like. Where if I just went to Detroit and I didn't explore the other sides of Michigan, the suburbs, the lakes, then I would have thought that entire Michigan was just like Detroit. And that wasn't the case. So there is a certain art to traveling. There is a certain art, I'm telling you, because after Canada, I was so sore. You have to walk so much. And it made me think about people who save traveling for the end of their lives. I mean, you're going to have to walk so much. I know this one auntie who is pretty well off. And one time I asked her, "Hey, are you and your husband, are you guys traveling?" And she said, "Well, I want to travel, but unfortunately, I can't travel because your uncle, his shoulder is always hurting, his knee is always hurting, his ankle is always hurting. So if I do take him somewhere, he doesn't enjoy it." So these people that are saving so much of their life to travel later on, I want to just remind them, can you travel later on? There's going to be a lot of walking, a lot of physical activity. And this is not just a message for older people, it's a message for people in their 30s. Are you someone who is taking care of yourself, or are you someone that is already letting yourself go? Because you need to be in shape when you are traveling. You are going to be walking a lot. Every now and then, you are going to be walking up steep hills. You are going to get lost a lot of times. So you're going to go in one alleyway. You're going to realize, oh, wait, that's not it. Then you have to go in another alleyway. So that's a micro skill that you have to learn how to walk without feeling too much pain. And if you do feel pain, what are you going to be doing? Are you more of a Tylenol guy, an ibuprofen guy? What exactly are you going to be doing? And the more that I travel, the more that I realize that traveling is good in doses, but it's not something that I could see myself always doing. When I was wrapping up my travels, I was so excited to get back. I said, finally, I can get back to work. Where nowadays, I think when I'm traveling for a week, maybe even 2 weeks, it actually brings me a lot of anxiety. Because when I'm coming back, I'm thinking, oh man, I gotta catch up on these emails. I gotta call these people back. Oh no, what if my business is completely imploding without me? Now, someone may say, well, that's a you problem, Armani. You're not running your business properly, or you're not setting the correct boundaries at work. I don't care. Even if I am running my business properly or setting the correct boundaries at work, there are certain things that will happen when I am away. And if I'm away for 1 to 2 weeks and I'm coming back and I'm just getting flooded, I'm completely lost, it brings a lot of anxiety within me. It feels like I am winning in one area where I am getting vacation, but I'm losing in another area where I am letting go of so much control where I don't know what to expect when I'm back. When I'm back, I am dreading reading those emails. I'm super nervous. And that's when I saw this one video recently of a guy who was kind of articulating exactly what I'm saying right now. He said that he's not a big fan of a week long, 2 week long vacations because it just makes him anxious. What he likes more are 3 day weekends. So he will take a day off on Friday and he'll pair it up with the weekend. So it's 3 days off and he can do something cool then. So the Canada trip is something that I could have technically done in a 3 day weekend. But instead of driving, I would have had to fly, which is perfectly reasonable. And by the time I'm back, it's not like I missed that much of work. I think this is going to be the future for certain productive people, where super productive people, they have this love-hate relationship with rest. At certain stages of their life, they want rest, but they don't know how to properly do rest. Now, if you ask these people, can you do rest for a long time? Physically, yes, they can. I could physically be in Canada for a week, 2 weeks, but emotionally, am I going to feel right doing it for that long? The answer is no. So I think in the future, there are going to be a lot of people that are doing these 3 day or even 4 day weekends because it doesn't disrupt their life that much. They're not coming back and worrying also about their household. I mean, if they leave for a long time, maybe they have a pet. What about the pet? Who's watching the pet? Maybe you have automated a lot of the tasks for the pet, such as the little robot, such as an automatic feeder, automatic water dispenser. The pet is feeling lonely, right? So when you come back, your pet is feeling all sad, maybe scratched up a bunch of your furniture because you weren't there. So there's a lot of problems as well when you are traveling for a long time. And I do see there being a rise to the 3 day vacation rather than the 2 week long vacation. And the cool thing with 3 day vacation is that you can scatter it throughout the year, where with the 2 week vacation, you kind of just use it in bulk and boom, you're out. How you utilize your vacation days is important, and how you utilize your traveling is important as well. Some people, they're not a big fan of traveling outside of the United States. They are bigger fans of traveling within the United States. And if you ever come to the United States, you will see that there are so many different things that you can do. There's Florida, there's Texas, there's California, there's New York. So many different things to do. And it's up to you to understand what you like to do. I mean, when you are traveling overseas, you have a certain culture shock with certain areas as well. That's why a tip from me is I want it to be touristy. I was thinking about going to Thailand recently, and I was talking to different people who went to Thailand, and there was this one guy that kept saying, "Oh, well, this place is too touristy, so I wouldn't recommend that." And he was recommending another place that is a lot more quiet. And I told him, I don't want quiet, especially when I'm traveling overseas. If it's too quiet, then I get too nervous. Where when it's touristy, I feel safe. Not only do I feel safe, I feel as though that there is the proper infrastructure set up for Americans to travel there without it being a big headache. That's the thing with Canada, where in Toronto, it's always packed. So even if I am walking in the middle of nowhere at a park because I'm trying to take a shortcut, I'm expecting to see some people there. Versus if I'm going in a small rural town where no one's living and I get lost there. And now it's completely black. My phone isn't working properly. I can't ask anyone for directions. So if I'm traveling overseas, I'm always looking for the big cities. I'm looking for the touristy spots. But with cities, that is where my love for it ends, where I would like to visit there when I'm traveling, but I would never want to live there. I don't get how people live in cities, especially when they're 30, 40, 50, and they have a family. I mean, don't you want more space? It's just me playing devil's advocate because I kind of do understand why certain people live in cities rather than houses. Because some people that live in cities, they want the apartment lifestyle. They're moving left and right. They don't want to be tied down into a certain spot for a long time. And they don't really prioritize space that much. Where for me, space is huge. I love space. But when you have space, one thing that others are going to do is they're going to challenge you every now and then. They're going to volunteer themselves to visit your place and they'll say, "Well, Armani, you have a lot of space." And that's when you need to get clear on what you want. Where some people, when they are, let's say, inviting people over, they have no rough idea of how long they want someone to stay. I'm one of those guys who would like someone to stay for roughly 2 to 3 days before I want them out of here. I don't want someone staying with me for a week. Where there are couples that are the exact opposite, where they want people to stay with them for a week to 2 weeks to 3 weeks. Now, I get it. Eventually, this perspective has to evolve because eventually, when the family is getting more complex, kids, grandkids are in the mix, there are going to be situations where there's a set of parents or a set of family members that stay for 2 weeks, maybe even a month to help out. But if that's not needed for the time being, I'm one of those guys who says, I don't need it then. Because after a while, you just feel uncomfortable. You can't really be yourself. Now, certain people may say, well, what if these people, you don't even see them? And this is a really good question. What if you don't see them? They're living with you, but you don't see them. This is a situation where I think even if you don't see them, you know they exist. And when you know they exist, they can't fully be themselves around you, and you can't fully be yourself around them. That's one of the reasons why I believe in alone time. With alone time, you need to be physically distant from others. When I talk to certain couples and I ask them, "Hey, do you have alone time?" And if they say, "Yes, I have alone time, but I'm doing my alone time with my partner in the same physical location," that's not my perspective of alone time. My perspective of alone time is when you guys are doing different things in different locations. And this is an important thing to say out loud because sometimes you will ask for alone time. And someone, maybe your brother, who always likes to hang out with you, will think he's giving you alone time, but he's really not. He's in the same room as you. Sure, he's on his iPad and you're on your computer, but you're not fully by yourself. And I'm one of those guys who views that as my alone time when I am fully by myself. And I can't necessarily fully be by myself if I even know that someone is about to come to my house later on. So I'm a great host for a limited time. Afterwards, I start to check out a little bit. I give props to good hosts, by the way, and not just a good host like me for a little period of time, a good host for a sustained period of time where they will show people around for days, weeks at a time. They will keep buying them meals, they will keep on engaging in small talk. I give them a lot of props because this is a mighty skill to have where I think I was a little traumatized by this in undergrad. I recall in undergrad, there was a period where one of my cousins from up north, she came down, right, to Florida because she had to apply for some med school programs and she had to go to a bunch of different locations for interviews. And she asked me, "Hey, Armani, can I stay with you?" I said, "Yes, I guess." Then she said, "Well, Armani, you also have to give me some rides, okay? And by the way, they're in Tampa, so they shouldn't be too far away." Well, I had a car. I lived in Tampa. So if these places are roughly 10 to 15 minutes away, all should be good, right? So she comes to Tampa and she is so thankful. She keeps saying, "Armand, I'm so thankful that you're letting me stay. I'm telling you, they don't pay us doctor med school students enough. So I couldn't even afford a hotel or a Uber taxi. Actually, Ubers didn't even exist back then. So a taxi. Taxis were expensive. She barely made any money. So I felt good. I said, yeah, I'm a good guy, right? I'm hosting you. So she's staying with me. So I offer up my bed and I'm sleeping on the couch and she's going to be here for a week. And within that week, she had to go to these different locations, but they were not 15 minutes away. They were 45 minutes away, 50 minutes away, an hour away. And I was internally thinking, wait, you said these places are in Tampa. She meant it was in Hillsborough County, not Tampa. So I'm over here driving her all these different locations, trying to be this good host. And eventually, I'm just thinking, when is she going to leave? I want to sleep on my bed. And she would every now and then say, "Armand, once again, thank you so much." And occasionally she would buy me a cheeseburger. But after she left, she didn't really keep in touch with me like that. And I went to New York. I'm thinking that I'm going to get the red carpet treatment with her. But she quickly stopped by, said, "Hey, Armand. Oh, by the way, Armand was such a nice host when I went to Tampa. Anyways, I got to get going." She just left. So you're telling me that I spent all my gas money on you. I drove you around for hours at a time. I gave you my bed while I slept in that hard couch. And you're not going to show me a good time back? And after that, I think it subconsciously traumatized me, where I thought hosting was a very thankless job. A lot of people take your kindness for granted. They're looking bored when you're trying to show them a good time. After you're done showing them a good time, they have short term memory. They completely forget about all the nice things that you did, and they don't hype you up enough. I feel like if you are hosting someone, and they're not driving you around, they're not spending any gas. What they should be doing is they should be coming in with the conversation. Now, certain hosts, they like to talk a lot. So when the host is talking a lot, the guests, they need to morph themselves to whatever topic the host wants to talk about. That is what I truly believe in. So there was a time when this host, he was driving me around and he was talking about his job a lot. I quickly tried to bring up my job, but I could tell that he really wants to talk about his job a lot. I quickly fell in line. I quickly went to the back burner and I started to ask him more questions. So, what is the day in the life of what you do for a living? Does a bad day look like for you? What does a good day look like for you? What did you learn from transitioning from just an employee to a manager? I'm letting him lead because he wants to talk. But every now and then, this guy didn't want to talk. And when I could tell that he did not want to talk, I was coming in with the conversation because he was probably tired from driving us all around, paying for all the tolls, looking at Google Maps, finding food places for us. So now this is my time to contribute. So to be a good host is a very thankless job, but I think as guests, we could make it easier. You don't want to be an ungrateful guest. You want to do your best to keep on hyping them up. Thank you so much for letting us stay with you. I would love your place. I love your state. I love you. Right? You want to keep hyping them up. And this extends to a bigger conversation, which is group trips in general. I saw this one video of this girl who was complaining a lot, saying that she doesn't get invited to group events. And some people were throwing her a pity party in the comment section. They're like, oh no, you poor baby. Why aren't you getting invited to group events? But eventually, one guy makes a very bold video. He says, you are not getting invited to group events because you are bad at group events. Whoa, what's that supposed to mean? Then he starts explaining it. You are very egotistical. You don't know how to merge into the group. You don't know how to pull your weight, even go above your weight. And that is the reason that you are not getting invited to group events. And as he was saying this, I started to think about my own life, where there are plenty of individuals that are great in one on one situations, but they just don't get invited to group events. This one particular guy, he is a really great guy to talk to one on one, but in group events, I noticed that he becomes somewhat annoying. The reasons he becomes annoying is one, he's very cliquey, where in order to be good in group events, you need to be social. Chances are you're going to meet some couples and some people that you have never met before. And if you're only over here chilling with the people that you know, then these new people, they're going to feel ostracized. And the person who initiated the event will think, come on, man, stop forming so many walls, form bridges. So, this buddy of mine, he is super clicky. Another issue with him is that he does not want to help, where whenever the host is doing a lot of work, it's up to the guests to see what are the missing gaps and to fill in the missing gaps. So after a party is done, you're not one of those individuals that immediately wants to go home, right? You want to help the host out to the best of your abilities. And another problem with this guy was that he would push back a lot. The host had a certain vision for how they wanted the group trip to go. But this guy, who was so good in one on one interactions, he would always argue. He would always say, man, I don't want to do that. Well, that's lame, bro. And whenever you throw out that idea that something is lame, there's always going to be a few henchmen that agree. They'll say, yeah, boss, that's lame. And now the people in the group trip, they are uncertain where there should be that one leader who has a certain vision and everyone else is following the leader's plan. If you don't like the leader's plan, then next time you initiate the group trip. There's different methods in order to be good at group trips. I think I accidentally become good at group trips because I'm not someone that is going to push back a lot if someone has a plan. I'm going to hear out the plan. If it's something that is capable of being done, then I will do my best to make the plan happen. I will play my role. You guys are driving that car. Okay, you guys need one more car. I will take my car. I'm going to do my best to play the role. I'm not always someone that likes to do group trips, but I know the basic elements to be good at group trips. So, in order to be good at group trips, you don't want to be that cliquey. You want to invite other people into your circle. You want to willingly walk into other people's circles. Also, you don't want to be pushing back on the host's vision too much. And also, you want to play your role. What is that role that you can play? I don't like cleaning, but I do like driving. So if you guys need someone to drive for an hour to 2 hours, I will go ahead and do it. No problem. I don't like cleaning because there are some of these parties that I go to nowadays, and this is somewhat unique to me. This is a newer principle where if it's a baby shower, if it's a birthday party, if it's something, what will occur is that I will go in and I see everything being set up. And there are a couple of people that will be like, Armani, well, go ahead, help us set up. And they don't give me any clear instructions. Well, what do you need? Do you need me to bring in food? Do you need me to organize the tables? Do you need me to set up the forks, knives? What? They just say, just set up. And it makes me mad for a couple of reasons. Number one, I am a guest. Why am I going to your party to celebrate your baby and I'm the one over here setting up? Why isn't this already taken care of? So that's problem number one. And problem number two is that these people are so vague that I have no clue what to do. If you tell me, Arman, I need help with you to bring the boxes inside, then I will do that. But that once again brings the first problem, which is why am I over here doing work when I am going out of my way to come to your party? I think that is very poor social etiquette. And I think if you can spend $500 to $800 more to have other people, maybe the service that you are hiring for decorations, set up everything, I think it's wise for you to pay that amount. Now, some people they don't have that sort of money, but they do want to throw a celebration. That's perfectly fine. I'm more than willing to help. A lot of people are like me. They just don't know how to articulate it. They'll just go to an event and they see all these people setting up and they feel as though they have to contribute as well. So they want to help, but you need to give them clear instructions. Maybe even have a checklist of John, you are responsible for this activity. Bill, you are responsible for this. Susie, you are responsible for this. So there is a clear guideline of what people are expected to do. But there are so many times I will go to parties and they don't tell me what to do. So I'm over here spinning in circles. I'm just standing there like a dork. And I could see the side eyes of how come he's not helping out more? And sometimes I will help out and now I'm sweating. I mean, they're asking me to lift this big table and take it to the car. I'm sweating. And now I'm supposed to enjoy this party? What's up with that, man? I see more and more people doing that. So either have the setup already done when your guests come, or if you want your guests to participate and help you set up, have clear guidelines for them. Maybe you could even break them into groups and say, this group is responsible for this group is responsible for that, and this group is responsible for that. Don't just say, pitch in. They don't know what that means. So clear communication is a big thing, especially nowadays when you are hitting your 30s. You are having to host baby showers, birthday parties, anniversary parties. And if you are someone that does not understand clear communication, you just expect people to read your mind, that's going to be a problem. That's not only something that happens with events, that's something that happens with work, where there are a lot of managers that will just toss their employees in certain meetings and the employees don't belong there. And these managers, they're not being trained either. These managers, and trust me, I've worked with tons of them because the Armani Talks brand helps introverted entrepreneurs and awkward engineers. I have worked with tons of awkward engineers on consultation sessions. And by the way, if you ever want a free consultation session, 15 minutes, go on ArmaniTalks.com, click services, and fill in one of those free consultation forms. I've worked with engineers who are great, great coders. And since they were such great coders, their manager was like, well, you're doing really good. So how about we make you a manager? But to go from a coder to being a manager, it's such different positions. It's like you're utilizing your right hand your entire life. And one day someone's like, I want you to start writing with your left. It's going to require a lot of conscious effort. And it's not something that's going to be easy now, if ever. Maybe you're always fighting against your personality. You're always fighting against the grain to write with your right hand because now you are being forced to write with your left hand. You are being forced to deliver results with your left hand. And it's just against your nature. So some managers that are forced into being a manager, they just say, look, I don't want to do it. Some people, they eventually learn. Eventually, they become more comfortable with their left hand than their right hand. And other folks, they never become comfortable with their left hand. They just understand, okay, there's a certain part of the day where I have to write with my left hand, 9 to 5, and I'm going to do that. And afterwards, I'm going to just be free. And that's why certain people, they are so um, strong on, I want my partner to bring me peace because they are going against their grain a lot at work in order to provide a living, paychecks. So by the time they are writing with their left hand, left hand, left hand, they finally want to write with their right hand when they are off work. They want to be themselves. Now, if the partner is like, hey, I need you to write with the left hand, I need you to go to this baby shower, I need you to hang out with this person, I need you to make small talk with this person, then this person is going to get really mad. They're going to get furious. And that's why a lot of men, the more ambitious that they are in their career, the more that they want peace in their day to day life. And they are picky about that. They say, well, you could whine to me every now and then, but don't whine to me too much where all we're talking about is whining. And now, because I want to help you out, I want to solve the problem. But if you're just over here whining and venting to me, and we're in this brand new location, then it's not something that I feel happy about on my free time. So a lot of managers are like that, where they're going against their grain just for some peace after work. So there are different managers, and these managers, they're not tossed into leadership training. When I was working with this one guy in our consultation sessions, he said that he went from coding to suddenly managing a bunch of coders. And his day to day job nowadays is to just babysit people. And it makes him furious because the coding landscape, it's getting more intricate. It's utilizing artificial intelligence. It's evolving before our very eyes. And now this guy is a layer above where the innovation is happening. And he has to always talk to his old school buddies. Hey, tell me what's going on. Please tell me. So he is being pushed into a position that he does not want to be in because it's seen as a reward by those above him. So this is something that is completely broken in the modern corporate space, and this is something that needs some addressing. And there are some short-term resolutions where one short-term resolution is instead of you being a manager of people, you could be a manager of a product. So this product that you're creating, you know everything about it. You are the subject matter expert about it. So no one is necessarily reporting to you. It is just you are fully one pointed focused on this product. If this product ever causes any problems and we need someone from this team to join a Zoom call, it's going to be you. You need to be able to answer anything. Now, this sounds way more of a reward to someone who hates managing people, where they can manage a product. Because by managing a product, they're still close to the technicalities of it, coding aspect, bringing the specifications to life. They love that. So, yes, they are getting management role by communicating clearly with necessary stakeholders, but they're not necessarily babysitting others. So this has been one small fix to a lot of people that don't want to become managers. Because a lot of millennials, they don't want to become managers. Another fix for people wanting to become managers is to pay them a lot more money. Not just pay them 10 grand more, pay them a lot more money. So if they are, let's say, getting paid 120K for not managing people, just doing their role, and you want them to be a manager, you need to bump them up to the 200K range. And you may think, well, that's a lot. Why so much? It's because with 200K, it's not just about the money, it's also about an identity shift where you're pretty much asking this person to do an identity shift. Hey, you're not just going to be doing your job anymore, you're going to be making sure that other people are doing their job. So you're basically making them switch from their right hand to their left hand. So they want to hear, I'm going to pay you like I'm having you switch from your right hand to your left hand. And that's where the 200K mark comes in. Because this person is often getting questions from his wife or hearing comments from his wife. Hey, did you hear Billy? Your brother in law, he just got that promotion. He just made partner. He finally joined the 200K club. How much do you make again? Oh, you make 120? Oh, that's not bad. I mean, that's still pretty good. But the other guy is making 200K. He's not hearing comments directly like that, but things within that range. Or he's hearing his little brother who just got a promotion. He joined the 200K club. 200K club is a completely different club. And when you join it, you have an identity shift. Very similar to when you first joined the six figure club. When you first made that 120K, your body is feeling strong sensations. It's like you are different. It's like you are more conscious of your work. That's the same thing. So if you want someone to become a manager, especially this younger generation, millennials who prioritize peace a lot more, you need to give them more money. And it's not just a 10% increase in their paycheck. I'm talking bumping them from 120K to 200K. And in some situations, even giving them a different title. If you don't give them a different title, they can't brag about it. But I think the money should do. But if the money's not doing it and you are in a shortage of managers, then you will maybe have to play around with the title. Which brings me to another point. I see a lot of articles nowadays talking about how middle managers are going to be eliminated with AI. I do have an in depth video coming out about this on my YouTube channel. So I'm just going to quickly brush over this. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think AI is going to get rid of middle managers. I think AI may get rid of the people that report to the middle managers, a lot of the people doing the day to day busy work, but that process of managing emotions, being their therapist, coaching them through, I don't see that automatically getting eliminated by AI. And some people are saying that the middle manager position is just going to get eliminated and is going to be the C suite executives talking directly to the day to day workers. But you know why that's not going to work? Because as you're trying to get rid of middle management, what will happen is that these C suite level CEOs, CTOs, CFOs, they're just going to have to now pick up the role of middle manager. A lot of these humans are just going to human. They're not going to follow deadlines. They're not going to do their work on time. They are going to have a family emergency. They're going to call off. They're going to need someone to call to let them know that they can't make it for the next week. Projects are being delayed. One project is connected to another, to another. And now the CEO, the CFO, the CTO is having to play babysitter. So you have to realize humans are always going to be humans. Middle managers are super underrated. The people below middle managers may get automated with AI, but I don't see middle managers themselves being automated anytime soon. I think it's time we start respecting middle managers more. It disgusts me when people badmouth them so much. And the only reason that a lot of them get badmouthed is because the person that is critiquing right now, they have a bad middle manager. But to really understand the middle management role, you need to play babysitter at one point or another. I urge you to throw a baby shower. I urge you to throw a birthday party. I urge you to throw a group event and to see how complex it is. Not just an event with two people. I'm talking about an event with at least 10 people. And within that process, some people are saying, well, I can't make it this weekend. I can make it this weekend. You call someone else. Hey guys, can we make it this weekend? Because John, he can't make it that weekend. No, man, that's close to Labor Day weekend. I have something planned. Well, why are you always listening to John for Armani? Hey, what about me? Can we make it a 4 day instead of 5 day? And there's the shy guy who hasn't said anything. He's working up the confidence to finally pitch in his ideas. Right when you're in the finish line, this shy kid suddenly has a bold idea that he has been doing mantras for the past 2 weeks. Because he's like, oh, when you suggest this idea, a lot of people are going to push back, but keep fighting for it. All right, keep fighting for it. So now, right when you're about to finalize a plan, this shy kid comes out of nowhere and it's like, I think we should do this. I think we should go to the Grand Canyon. All of you guys are like, well, what? I thought we were deciding on a cruise. No, I think we should go to the Grand Canyon. And now you guys are rebutting it. But this guy has been doing his mantras because for him, it's not just about Grand Canyon. It's about seeing if he has the confidence to fight back on your pushback. And now you guys are once again going nowhere. That is the day of the life of a middle manager. So you need to put yourself in positions like this before you critique from the outside. You may look at this person from the outside and you just say, well, what does he do all day? But when you really see what he does, you will start to respect him more. So I recommend that you become a middle manager in some context to your life, and then you will see that it is not easy. It is a very, very difficult role that requires grit, it requires emotional intelligence, it requires patience, all skill sets that I teach in the Armani Talks show. Patience, though. Patience is something that is a little tricky because I think when you're too patient, it sets a fertile ground for people to take advantage of you. I mean, you're being so patient, and instead of other people now understanding that you are patient in certain doses, they want you to baby them. This is the Cobra effect in action, where a pure intention leads to a perverse result. I am not a big fan of being too patient with people. I think every now and then you are patient, but other times you have to talk to people in a way where you say, look, I expect this out of you. I don't want to keep going back and forth with you. I don't want to hear your sob story. I want to get it done. And nowadays, we as a society have set up this fertile ground where we somewhat punish the thick skinned individuals and we reward the thin skinned individuals. Where the thin skinned individuals are saying that the thick skinned individuals are not empathetic enough. Where I think there is a level of professionalism that we need to exhibit not only in professional transactions, but only also in terms of our life. I mean, if you're always just being empathetic towards people, then eventually nothing is going to get done. And someone who has not been through anything is going to act like their struggle is the end of the world. Like, imagine a guy that had both of his parents leave him. He went to the adoption area, was getting beat up in the adoption area, the foster care, and he had to learn how to communicate properly. He had to learn how to fight in the foster area. Eventually, he was adopted. And after getting adopted, the people who adopted him were not good people. They would hit him whenever they were drunk or whenever they were fighting. So this guy is dealing with his family abandoning him, getting beat up in the foster care, getting beat up by his parents, but he never lets anything break him. He just keeps rising and rising and rising. Pain only strengthens him. He reads more. He learns more. He gets stronger. He learns how to fight. He eventually gets a scholarship. He eventually starts his own business. He eventually rises to the top, manages tons and tons of people. And one day, one of his nieces come to him. He's like, "Oh no, I just want to cry a lot because my boyfriend dumped me." This guy, he thinks, "Come on, bro. Like, you could go through worse, but you haven't, and you're making me empathize with you. So sure, I will empathize with you. I'm so sorry to hear that. Okay, you'll bounce back. Trust me. Here, do X, Y, and Z, and you should eventually feel better. But what I recommend is that you give yourself roughly 1 to 3 weeks to be sad. Don't just be sad without a certain timeline. Otherwise, sadness just becomes your personality trait. You think you're giving wisdom, but your niece is just pouting like, I don't know, I don't know. And then 2 months goes on by, 3 months goes on by, 1 year goes on by, and she's still crying about her ex. And she keeps calling you saying, "Oh, come on, like, feel sorry for me." And you have a business to run. And worse, you've been through way worse than this. And she hasn't been through anything. And now you're being forced to act as though her problems are these grand problems that you have to empathize with. So eventually you just lose it. Just say, "No, man. Quit being a baby. Get over this already." And now she says, "Uncle, you're just not empathetic." You are empathetic, but you can't baby someone for so long. And this is where nowadays, if you don't baby someone for a long time, then you're framed as the guy that's not empathetic. If you're being too empathetic, then it eventually leads to bad habits in the other person. It makes them really weak. Some of the strongest people out there, if you hear about their lives, you will see that they went through way worse than someone who is complaining nonstop about something minuscule. And it may not be minuscule for them, sure, but it's still minuscule to a point where, dude, just get over it, man. And I'm really tired of this. I'm really tired of, having to feel sorry for people that don't want to do their jobs. There are times when I will go to a certain location, I'm expecting good service, but unfortunately, the service worker is having a bad day. And due to them having a bad day, now I'm supposed to put up with the bad day. And if I voice my frustrations, then I'm seen as the bad guy. So, us as a society, we really need to understand what we are going to be rewarding and what we are not going to stand for. We can't be just letting people get away with empathy too much. That's why I think patience is good, but too much patience becomes a bad thing. Too much of it, I'm telling you, where there are multiple situations like this where I don't know. I may be biased, but I think the newer generation, they try to frame themselves as being more empathetic. They understand more. They feel more, but I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, what are you getting done? How are you moving the needle forward? And if you're not moving the needle forward, then all this empathy, all this feelings, it's not really doing anything. As a matter of fact, it's actually harming society more because you're basically just breaking things, pulling things apart, but never putting it back together. So that is not a good thing, in my opinion. So, we've talked about a lot of different topics today, and I want to keep on talking about social skills, public speaking, a lot of unique topics that, if you are more curious about, I drop a newsletter on this, armanitalks.com/newsletter, where nowadays it is the time to learn public speaking. I've been going to different Toastmasters, and it has somewhat upset me that so many Toastmasters nowadays are virtual. I don't like the idea of virtual Toastmasters at all. And the few times that I've tried to go to a Toastmasters and they're like, oh, sorry, sir, we're virtual now, I'll go to the virtual one, I'll participate. But afterwards, I don't have any incentive to go back. I'm not a big fan of virtual Toastmasters at all. And I think even hybrid Toastmasters should be eliminated. I think the only way that you will get better at public speaking is by going to the public and speaking a lot. And the more that you do that, the better off that you will get. Now, if you hypothetically don't have a scenario where you can give speeches to audiences, then you want to at least start a podcast. You at least want to start a YouTube channel, and you want to make sure you're not editing your content too much. This entire Armani Talks show right now, no editing at all. I'm just going to upload the entire clip onto YouTube. Not that I can't edit, but I don't evaluate public speaking through the lens of a content creator, right? I view public speaking through the lens of a public speaker. So if I am a public speaker and I make some mistakes on this episode and I'm cutting it out, is that what I can actually be able to do in a real life stage? Let's say I'm in a stage and there are 300 people watching me and I start fumbling my words. Can I chop that out? Absolutely not. That's why when I'm here, I do my best to speak consistently for a long time, no editing things out. So if you want to practice your public speaking skills with podcasting and YouTubing, you absolutely can. But what you can't do is keep editing out your mistakes. You need to become hyper focused where right when you click record, you understand there is no do over, there is no editing button. You need to go from beginning to end. And this helps you out tremendously. You know, the last big speech that I gave was at my Valima weekend, and there were roughly 400 people there. And this is pretty much the post celebrations of a big wedding. This is the celebrations that the guy's side throws. So my family, my mom and dad helped throw this event. And there were a lot of childhood friends, 400 ish people. And I hadn't given a speech in a couple of weeks to a couple of months. So I thought, am I going to be rusty? But then I realized, wait, Armani, you're over here recording YouTube videos, podcasts, you're writing all the time. So at this stage, you are an idea generating machine. So when I gave the speech, a lot of people came to me after the speech and they were like, I really love the speech. I said, thank you. I knew that they were going to love it because this is what I call a beautiful speech rather than just a speech. And I want to close off like that. A beautiful speech is a speech where you have to be a little vulnerable, where a speech, you don't have to be vulnerable. Now, a lot of you guys can just give a speech where you just go up on stage and you say, I want to thank all of you guys for coming here. I know that it's not easy for you guys to travel from different parts of the world, but I want to say thank you for spending your money, giving us your time. You guys mean so much to us. And I hope you guys have a great event. See, that's a speech. It's not as though you put yourself out there. But a beautiful speech is where you introduce a flaw in yourself and you talk about a win. And then you connect the two. So a beautiful speech would go like, you know, I was really afraid of commitment after I saw my cousin get a divorce with his dream partner. And it happened abruptly. And I did not even expected. I always thought that he was a model of what a true relationship was like. So when I saw him going through the pain of a divorce, it just subconsciously traumatized me, and I realized that I could not let people get close to me. Boom. You're starting off at a low and you're sharing a flaw of yours. Your flaw is that not your experience, but someone else's experience influenced you to push people away. That is a real human emotion all the way to the lowest of levels. It's a dark emotion. But then you, like, throughout the talk, you don't just abruptly say the good part. Throughout the talk, you talk about your journey, and then you talk about the person you just met. You say, all of that changed when I met you because I kept pushing people away in my life. But when I met you, I did the opposite. I kept pulling you in, pulling you in. And the more that I pulled you in, the more that I learned more about myself, the more that I was able to heal my wounds, the more that I saw that your soft presence was what I needed. It's not as though I was just pushing these people away for no reason. Sure, my cousin had his situation has something to do with it, but in reality, it's because it was me understanding they were not right for me. You, though, you were nothing but perfect for me. That's why throughout life, I will keep pulling you in. Something beautiful. And it's beautiful because you started off with something dark and you contrasted it with something light. And this requires two central ideas. What is your central dark idea? And what is your central light idea? And everything in the middle ground, you just painted as a journey of how you got from dark to light. But that is something that is going to require you to be vulnerable because right here, this dark spot, no one wants to say that in front of 300 to 400 people. But I'm trying to tell you right now, the risk to reward is crazy. Where, yes, you're taking somewhat of a risk, but the reward is massive. Because after the Valima, one thing that is remembered is Armand's speech. Oh, you remember Armand's speech? That was beautiful. Uh, Most people liked it. And that is what will happen when you take that risk and you try to introduce a beautiful speech. You introduce the dark and you introduce the light. See, one of the worst speakers are the ones who are too cool. Like, yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for coming, bro. Yeah, yeah. They don't put themselves out there, and people don't like that. Where when you are putting yourself out there, every now and then you may see certain people that are not fully focused, but don't let them bother you because there are tons of people in the audience that are focused. So when I was giving my speech, I could tell that some people were not paying attention. I saw some people yawning, I saw some people on their phones, but I'm still giving the speech because I saw a bunch of engaged members. I'm looking at them, I'm talking to them. And then afterwards, there were so many people that I didn't even know were at the wedding that were like, dude, your speech motivated me. It actually made me appreciate my wife more. It made me want to learn public speaking. It made me want to tackle this one fear that I've had for a long time. Multiple people said that to me. So you don't want to let a few bad audience members ruin your entire mood. There are tons of audience members that are paying attention. And you, as a beginner speaker, you just need to look at three engaged members. The most engaged member from the left, middle, right. The more savvy that you become, the more that you can keep switching your looks. But don't just be looking like this the whole time. Lock and hold. Do it with confidence. When you're locking into someone, only you and this person exist from this entire audience. Do not be scared. I promise you, when you are delivering that speech, you're going to be nervous. You're going to be like, oh man, I feel a little embarrassed. But once you're done, people will appreciate you a ton for it. So that is the magic of public speaking. Public speaking is something that is never going to go away. So if you want to learn more about public speaking, a great book to get is my book called Speaking Wizard. This book is going to teach you a bunch of different aspects of public speaking, such as how to brainstorm a speech. There are different people on how they like to brainstorm. There are different people who like to write everything, and there are other individuals who like to mumble it into existence. I teach you both methods. I teach you how to mumble a speech into existence. And then from mumbling the speech, you have the central ideas. Then you polish it up. Once you polish it up, you follow the 5X rule. You get the speech down to perfection 5 times. Anytime you mess up, you start all the way back over. Once you nail the 5X rule, that speech is in your subconscious mind. You could give it in your sleep. And then on speech day, you dress up, you feel good, you smile, you loosen up your face. And when you deliver, you wait 5 seconds before you start your speech. You say to the audience, I control the time. You don't control the time. You win them over, and now you deliver your speech. The Speaking Wizard is available on ArmaniTalks.com. Click shop and grab your copy today. I want to thank you, everyone, for joining me for this hour. And be sure to hit subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I will see you next month.